Yep.
Okay, so I'll just tell you some little notes that I've made about the lesson, and you can just chime in.
Okay.
You know, when I have a plan and I have the lesson plan, I'm so aware of the time. Everything, I'm like, oh, I've got to do this, and next thing I've got to do this, and I've got to fit this in, and the students are taking too long, and I hate that because I'm kind of rushing the students a bit sometimes, and I find it hard to relax and let everything kind of flow naturally. So when I have this whole thing hanging over me, I find that it's not natural, and I'm just like, next activity. Okay, I've got to do the next activity. I've got to fit this in. I've got to, which
it didn't seem like that
really?
from the viewer's perspective. It, you know, what impressed me about this lesson was I could see that the students were much more engaged. Yeah. So, you know, they were looking at the screen, they were kind of present. They were more of them were sort of answering questions and asking. And so compared to that first lesson that I observed, I feel as though, you know, the students have, have picked up.
That's great.
And then your timing and everything, I felt like it seemed to move pretty well. It didn't seem rushed or harried or anything like that.
I felt it. I'm really focused on setting things up well, because once the students go to breakout rooms, you don't know what they are doing. So I'm taking time to really set things up and but then still I go through all these steps, and then I go into the breakout room, and you know, and I'm still having that difficulty. So I need to do even more for the setting up. Especially
what's the problem in the breakout room? Are they all a bit unsure as to what they need to do?
There was one group that they were a bit unsure to what to do. So I've got to just, you know, I've got to do more CCQs. I've got to ask them, okay, so what are you doing first? What are you doing second? Are you doing this? Are you not doing that? I need to ask more questions like this.
I thought you did well. Hang on, I'm just looking for the...
They still had a problem.
Did that? Okay, I'm just looking for the right standard. The one where all students... make content accessible to all students. I felt like the way you set up each activity was really clear. And there was a really good range of activities. I thought that you went over the instructions in a few different ways. You know, you showed them on the screen, you spoke, students gave you a little bit of feedback as to what they had to do. So I felt like that was a strong point.
Yeah, I am trying to focus on that more. And you know, we have this whole thing about student choice, giving the students choice, right? But sometimes that really works against the teacher, because when you give them choice, there's no control.
Right, okay.
So for the choice, but at the same time, I need to, you know, because, for example, I gave them a website which had lots of different NGOs on them, and I kind of wanted them to choose whichever they were interested in. That didn't quite work.
Did they end up looking at them, or were they a bit lost?
Yeah, there were a couple of groups were a bit lost, so I had to kind of say, oh, why don't you look at this one? And so what I was thinking was, maybe I should have just given them a list of kind of 2 or 3, because there was like 10.
Yeah, and they may have started reading all the details without sort of skimming over.
Student choice is great, but it still needs to be, still needs to be a limit to that, I guess. And
I thought the student choice was good, and it promoted independent student inquiry. they had to choose the aspects that they were going to cover and choose whether to do a local or an international NGO. And then they had to choose their roles within the group. So for me, I felt like there was quite a lot of choice.
Yeah, good. So yeah, and I suddenly thought about kind of going over why we're doing the project, because I think a lot of times in class we just do things, we're just doing things, and students cannot see the long-term benefit. Or
I actually made a note about that. As part of Standard 4, there's helping students learn at high levels. And part of that is students recognising why they're learning something and how they're learning it. And you included a couple of questions to help students think like that. Why are we doing a collaborative project? That was a good one. And what's important to you about working collaboratively? So I felt like that those kind of questions aimed at students really help them to think for themselves about why they're doing something.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And I was trying to make everything very student-centered, but that does take up time. So that activity where they thought about what was important to them when they work in a collaborative group, if I did this lesson again, I would just do that as a class.
As a whole class.
Because I had to set it up. Then they went to the breakout rooms. Then they had a discussion. Then we came back. Then we it's just too much time. Next time,
so that would have been a good intro lesson the week before, or something like that.
Exactly. There's so many steps to take when I try to make a student sentence. So there were other activities that were student centered. So I think that one I could have just done as a group, and it could have gone a little bit faster. Yeah, I really wanted to show that video of that young person because I thought
that was great. I thought that that demonstrated your understanding of several of the standards or sub-standards. What did I put? Utilising appropriate academic language and providing opportunities for students to master the language within and beyond the subject area. So it set them up to understand the kind of language that they should be using by watching that example video. And I also thought hang on a minute, there's so much to look at. It helped to connect to their own sort of backgrounds and age group and made it real for them, rather than watching, some American person, talking about something that they can't understand. I thought it was a really good example. And the resource was Youth Time, was it?
Yes,
on
the website.
TEDx Youth. Yeah, I thought that was really good, and I imagine the students could sort of relate to that guy and his NGO.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that was all the notes I have.
Okay. So just while you're talking, you mentioned a couple of things you do differently. Anything else?
I didn't feel relaxed during.
Why
not? Because it's the first time I'm doing a PBL, and I do find doing it virtually, it's just an added. Because if I'm in a classroom, everybody would be in groups, and I can kind of monitor all the groups very easily. I can see everybody working or not, and then I can go up to them and speak. Whereas when I go into the breakout rooms, sometimes there's dead silence, but I'm not sure why there's silence. Maybe somebody has asked a question and people are thinking. So sometimes I'm like, are they not working at all? Are they thinking about something? And then sometimes I interrupt, and I'm actually interrupting something that they're doing. And
Yeah.
that's not good. I don't want to do that. So it's really hard to judge sometimes.
I've had the same experience, and I think you've just got to kind of appear and wait and see what's going on,
Yeah.
because I've done the same thing, interrupting, and then they say, oh, we're just having some thinking time.
Yes. Or they say, oh yes, we just asked a question, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually interrupting them. But I do find sometimes I'm a bit I am impatient, and I kind of butt in when I need to give the group more time or the person more time or whatever, because I'm kind of willing them to give this good answer or willing them to say the thing I want them to say, and I need to take a step back. I really need
Would it help if, when you were in the breakout room, to turn off your video and mute yourself?
Yeah, maybe.
For a while.
I should try that next time. Yes, I should try that.
Because I think students feel that when they're in the breakout room, that's their kind of safe zone.
Yeah, and
they don't really like it when we appear.
Yes, they don't.
Unexpectedly.
And they are doing a project, so I really need to let them
figure it out.
So definitely next lesson I will do that. I wish I'd given them more time to just start the project, and they had a good 20 minutes, I think, at the end, where they started to discuss which issue they're going to focus on and what activities, those kinds of things they did start speaking about. And so each group told me kind of what their NGO is going to focus on, and they all have different aspects, so that was good. So when they present,
oh, that's great.
Very different groups. So that was good. I can't think of anything else. So did you want to?
Well, I've made a lot of notes, but I don't think I need to go over every single one. So I mentioned that you made the content accessible to all students with all the different tasks and activities, and it mentions multiple representations and explanations, and I think you really managed that well. The lead-in video was great, the website with the NGOs, the little mini discussions, like you said, when you adjusted the lesson to show them those extra little things, those little example websites, I thought that really, really helped everyone understand what the lesson objectives were, and also you tapped into their prior learning from previous lessons in that course. So, you know, it wasn't a big stretch for them to take this on. I thought it was really well managed. Really good tech tools and resources. There was a really good range of stuff that students can relate to. And then afterwards, you know, if they want to go to that TEDx Youth website, they can go and, you know, listen to other people talking. Higher level learning at high levels. I thought that SEL activity at the beginning is really useful. Not that it's really about learning, but I think it sets the scene, so that everyone's kind of comfortable, and
I really wanted them to focus on sort of listening to their partner, that idea of listening, and then like deep listening. Or
I thought it was good, and that, you know, they could all relate to each other's issues. So I thought that was kind of a good way to start. There was lots of academic language in the video, in the websites. I think at one point you read out a little blurb about
the website that the 14-year-old has.
That's right.
Sorry,
and it had really good appropriate language that, you know, they can then recycle in their own presentations. Let me see. And also in Standard 4, it says uses a variety of resources and tech tools appropriate to students. Hang on. Appropriate to their interests, backgrounds, and experience. So I think all of those resources really tapped into their age group and the region that they live in, you know, the region of Asia, I guess. The lesson really promoted independent student inquiry in terms of just setting up that project and getting them to work as a group and collaborate, but also they'll have to do some research based on their role in the group. So that was great. You addressed real world problems, so issues in Vietnam, choose an NGO relevant to Vietnam, choose aspects related to the issue, and I think you were using perspectives from a variety of disciplines. So it wasn't just learning English language, it was, you know, looking at the world, what are the problems, how do we solve problems, what do organizations do. I think, you know, there was a real cross-section of disciplines that students were accessing there. And then the last one in Standard 5 is about, it's all that interdisciplinary stuff. And I think it's good that they're going to have some money to donate. So I think that makes it a little bit more real again, that, you know, they have to really think about their own values and what's important to them. And it makes it more relevant and meaningful. Rather than just an abstract project about something, you know, they're really going to have to think deeply. So Marnie, I just feel like you covered all of those standards to a really high degree. So even though it was stressful for you, I really enjoyed reading the lesson plan and watching it in action.
Would it be great if we could have these kinds of projects in our course? Because I think 3A is the only one that has this really fun, engaging project for students, and we could
that's group based.
Especially these higher levels that we have, it would be fantastic for them.
The higher levels, I think they do like an individual presentation.
5A is an individual. I think 5B might be, but there's no real scope for. It's a very narrow, you know, activity to do.
I think the assignments need to be rejigged, and that would be a really good assessment item, which I think everyone would benefit from.
And a big thing with PBL is student choice. So I did say to them at the time, I didn't give them a set time, which it's an experiment for me.
But I think that's good. It can be an experiment for them too.
Yes. So,
you know, maybe they've never done something like this.
So
they're gonna have to deal with timing as well.
But I do need to talk to each group and see how long, because it can't be too long because they have to present.
Well, how many people in a group?
4.
So they might be able to work this out as they go along, like, you know, each person speaks for 2 minutes or something. And but let them figure it out.
Once they put the information together, then we can start talking about the time, because then they can see how much time they need as well. So
Yeah.
that'll work. Okay, well, thanks a lot.
All right, great.
Way better than I thought. Okay, thanks, Michelle.
All right, bye.